Six p.m. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Kanuz Ashraf. First, the headlines. Interior Minister has said any U.S. efforts to bully Pakistan will prove counterproductive. National Assembly has been informed that Pakistan Army is befittingly responding to Indian ceasefire violations along the line of control and working boundary. Bodies of 11 Pakistanis who died in a tragic boat accident in Libya have arrived in Islamabad. A UN report says Pakistan has brought food security and nutrition to a more prominent place since 2010. Iraq has secured pledges worth over $10 billion in its mission to rebuild the country following a 3-year war with Islamic State militants. U.S. Secretary of State says his country has a well-advanced Middle East plan to bring peace in the region. And now the news in detail. Interior Minister Ehsan Iqbal says any unilateral action by the United States against Pakistan will be counterproductive and take bilateral relations to an irreparable stage. In an interview with CNN, he said any unilateral action in Pakistan will be a red line for the country. He said Pakistanis are dignified people and they want to have a friendship based on mutual respect, but any effort to try to bully Pakistan or force Pakistan will be counterproductive. The minister said there is no country in the world except Pakistan that has made as many sacrifices and as much contribution towards fighting terrorism over the past years. He said Pakistan lost about 60,000 people and suffered a $25 billion loss to its economy. Talking about the U.S. aid to Pakistan, Ehsan Iqbal said Pakistan is not fighting the war on terror for U.S. aid, but we are fighting this war for future of our people. About Pak-Afghan relations, Ehsan Iqbal said it will be in the interest of both Pakistan and United States to work together because Pakistan is the first country that faces the cost of instability in Afghanistan and we are the first country that gets the dividend of peace in Afghanistan. Talking to British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson in London, the Interior Minister said Pakistan is undergoing a remarkable transformation as a result of improved security situation, impressive economic growth, and consolidation of democratic institutions. He informed the British Foreign Secretary about Pakistan's efforts to eliminate extremism and terrorism from the country. The British Foreign Secretary commended Pakistan's economic reforms agenda and acknowledged that Pakistan has great potential for economic growth. President Mamnoon Hussain says peace and stability in Middle East is necessary for both regional and international peace. He was talking to the ambassador-designate to Syria, retired Air Marshal Rashid Kamal, and ambassador-designate to Libya, retired Major General Sajid Iqbal in Islamabad today. The president hoped that peace and stability in Libya and Syria will be established soon and the people of both the countries will have a peaceful and prosperous life. He directed the ambassador-designate to make concerted efforts for enhancing bilateral trade and people-to-people contacts with their respective countries. The National Assembly has been informed that Pakistan Army is responding in a befitting manner to the Indian ceasefire violations along the line of control and working boundary. Parliamentary Secretary for Defence Sardar Mansab Ali Dogar told the House during question hour today that India has committed 1,394 ceasefire violations along the line of control over the last 1 year. Minister of State for Communications Mohammad Junaid Anwar Chaudhry said motorway various projects are being executed with speed to improve connectivity in the country. Minister of State for Power Abid Sher Ali told the House that no load shedding is being carried out due to lack of power generation as the feeders have less than 10% of losses are load shedding free. He said due to theft on high loss feeders, load management is being carried out. Commerce Minister Pervez Malik says Pakistan is an emerging economy and with over 5% GDP growth rate, it is the promising market for Canadian investment in agriculture sector. Talking to Canadian Minister for Agriculture and Agri-Food Lawrence Macaulay at Ottawa in Canada, he said both the sides should exchange expertise in research, development, and innovation in agriculture. The Canadian Minister for Agriculture agreed to provide fresh impetus to the cooperation in agriculture field. Speaker National Assembly Sardar Ayaz Sadiq says parliamentarians of Pakistan and Turkey can play a pivotal role in promoting cohesion and bringing the two countries closer. He was talking to Ambassador of the Republic of Turkey, Ehsan Mustafa Yurdakul, in Islamabad today. The Turkish ambassador appreciated Pakistan's role for peace and prosperity in the region. Bodies of the 11 Pakistanis who died in a tragic boat accident in Libya arrived in Islamabad this evening. Pakistan government had made special arrangements for bringing the dead bodies back to the country. They were drowned when a boat carrying migrants had capsized off the coast of Zuwara in Libya. The Supreme Court has reserved judgment in a case pertaining to interpretation of 62(1)(f). A five-member bench headed by Chief Justice Mia Sakim Nassar heard the case that relates to determining the time period of disqualification of lawmakers. The Attorney General submitted his arguments before the court today. This is Radio Pakistan. Pakistan has made significant progress over the past decades and brought food security and nutrition to a more prominent place since 2010. This has been stated in a report titled Strategic Review of Food Security and Nutrition in Pakistan, launched by the United Nations World Food Programme in Islamabad today. Speaking on the occasion, Regional Director for Asia and Pacific of the United Nations World Food Programme, David Cathert, said WFP welcomes this review as a basis for planning an effective program of food security and nutrition support. In Occupied Kashmir, the joint resistance leadership comprising Sayyid Ali Gilani, Mirwais Umar Farooq and Muhammad Yasin Malik has said that the Kashmiri people do not expect justice from the Indian judiciary, as it is not different from the Indian executive and legislative authority. According to Kashmir Media Service, the statement came in the backdrop of the reports that Indian Supreme Court had stayed legal proceedings against Major Aditya and other army officials who are involved in targeted killing of 3 civilian boys in Shopian on 28 January 2018. Meanwhile, clashes were reported between Indian troops and protesters in Karimabad area of Pulwama district today. Iraq has secured pledges worth more than $10 billion in its mission to rebuild the country following a 3-year war with IS militants. During a 3-day summit on Iraq's reconstruction that concluded in Kuwait City today, Amir of Kuwait Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmad Al-Sabah pledged to give him $1 billion in loans and investments. Saudi Arabia said it would provide $1.5 billion, while Qatar pledged $1 billion. Turkey vowed to provide $5 billion in financial support. The European Union's foreign policy chief Federica Mogherini announced an investment of €400 million in addition to individual contributions from member states. U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson says his country has a well-advanced Middle East plan to bring peace in the region. He said this during talks at a news conference with Jordanian Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi in Amman today. Rex Tillerson also said that Iran and Iran-backed forces should withdraw from Syria, where Washington is quite concerned about a recent confrontation between Iran and Israel. Denmark's Prince Henrik, husband of Queen Margrethe, has died at the age of 83. A royal house statement said Prince Henrik had been diagnosed with a tumor 2 weeks ago. And finally, the weather. Mainly cold and dry weather is expected in most parts of the country during the next 12 hours. However, partly cloudy weather conditions are likely in southern parts of the country, including Sindh and Balochistan. And that is the end of the news. For more news and analyses, log on to our website, radio.gov.pk, and also watch live video streaming of our bulletins on the link facebook.com Radio Pakistan News Official.